And welcome back to day 3 from the Rural GP Network Conference, where we're doing our final broadcast. And we've got a fairly exciting half an hour planned. We're going to start with my first lovely guest here, Simone Flight, who's going to tell us about the Pat Farry Trust, after which we'll see a graduate of the Pat Farry Trust, the recipient of the grants. And finally, we're going to have Martin London and myself, and we're going to just wrap up the conference as we saw it and just highlight all the bits which you might have missed. So I'm going to start with Simone Flight from the Pat Farry Trust. Simone, look, tell me all about yourself. And now you're telling me you're Pat Farry's niece.
I am.
We cannot use the word rural health and not say Pat Farry in it. They're sort of almost synonyms, aren't they? So would you like to tell us about yourself and the Pat Farry Trust?
Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm Pat Farry's niece. I come from a background, a marketing and communications background, but first and foremost I come from a background of spending many years in the household of a rural GP, and from that perspective seeing the life of a rural GP, in particular seeing someone like Pat Farry, who first and foremost that's what he was. He was a people person, he was a rural general practitioner dedicated to his community. So I won't say stars were aligned as such, but when Pat passed away and the trust was set up, it was very humbling, I know, for anyone involved, and especially the family, the monies that came in with the express wish of continuing the work that Pat had been doing, both as a general practitioner, as a mentor, as a teacher, as someone who inspired other people. So I, in the last year, moved back to Queenstown, which I call home. I've had many years away, 15 years away, and probably from the first year trying to get back to Queenstown.
Welcome home.
Thank you. So I came back, and it was really this alignment of we need some help from the marketing perspective, more that it's time to take the trust from the setting up stage to really moving on and going to the next stage. So I was brought in to help with that. I've got this very euphemistic title of project manager, which is a really good catch-all title for let's just throw anything at you, see if you can catch it. Here's your
there's many project managers identifying that. Good on you.
Yeah, so I mean, and it was again, humbling yet again to come into the trust and to see what had already been started and what had already been happening. And then to look and assess really where the trust's strengths were, where the opportunities were, and that's been my task in the last 6 months, to actually look at that and help the trust move into the future. Awesome. There was Sue spoke beautifully and from the heart last night, Sue Farry, with regards to where we're focusing and sort of really clarifying what the trust is here to do.
So for those of us who weren't there last night, can you tell us about the trust? What exactly does it do? And
the trust was established first and foremost to continue Pat's work, to continue his legacy. So I mean, in essence, it is to ensure the sustainability of quality health service to rural communities of New Zealand.
And you've got a promotional
I have.
brochure there.
I'll do my Lana Cowcroft moment.
Perfectly done. So that's the Pat Farry Trust. I don't know whether we got a good look at that, and it's got an interesting logo at the top there. Now, can you tell us about the logo?
Shall I tell you the PG version or the?
No, the R18 version.
We'll go for the R18 version. Okay, so two versions. It's the symbol of Matagauri, so it's a logo version of Matagauri, which is a very spiky native plant.
That was PG.
That's the PG version. The other version is that there's just a little sort of knob in the middle of that, a little spiky knob, or as Susie will joke, that people often said that Pat was like the little prick, the little prick that got in there and just made his message heard. So that's the R-rated version, so whether or not that's to be used. But we actually, that goes down quite well in rural areas, because it really is. I mean, this trust is not about ivory tower. This is actually within the communities, within the people that Pat served, as well as the students, in fact, that Pat mentored and were so dear to him and his work.
So needless to say, we had a fantastic fundraising event 12 months ago in Queenstown, and now Sue did tell us how much was raised at that one?
$40,000.
Which is wonderful.
Absolutely amazing.
Where is that money going?
That money is going into scholarships. So first and foremost, the Trust is the work that it is doing right now in the phase it's in, are looking at scholarships for medical students, and a scholarship that's awarded every second year to a health professional, a rural health professional in their first 10 years since graduating. So taking back to the students, what we're looking for are the students who will be the next thinkers, the next innovators, the mentors of the future. So in selecting amongst the candidates who apply, and what they're applying for is for dollar support for their 6th year elective. So what that is going offshore in particular, to have that experience in a rural environment outside of New Zealand, being able to bring that knowledge and experience, and what we'll hear from Kerry, that personal growth back to New Zealand. So that is the first of the scholarships. The second is the biennial scholarship, which will help a health professional in their first 10 years to do the same thing, but probably a bit further. It may be a 1-year sabbatical, a 6-month sabbatical that we're able to support financially. And the second of these will be, the first of these will be awarded this year. And that again relates back to Pat's own experience. It was his travel and his ability to see rural health practice overseas and to be able to study and to be able to network, that really for him, he felt that that was a huge part of becoming the GP that he was.
So for anybody watching tonight who is going to be winning lotto and they're sat on this 10 million and don't know what to do with the money, how do they give half of that to you?
Well, they just come straight through to our website, and all of our contacts are there. That is the fastest way in these times to come through and contact us. We have an email address, but go straight through to the website, patfarrytrust.co.nz. We will make it as easy as possible for you to transfer as many monies as possible to us, but be absolutely be sure that those monies will be in these first years, be working with students, be working with young rural healthcare professionals. Then in the future, what we're looking to do, and this was really another thing that Pat was very, very keen on, is how we can take the technological advances that we have in terms of communications and how we can use that to bring quality education, quality services out to the rural areas. Now obviously the mobile surgical bus is the huge bells and whistles example of that, taking the healthcare out to the regions. So what the Pat Farry Trust are looking for in their, not immediately, but in the longer term, is a project or an initiative that we can either get in behind or that we can support, that will harness technology to be able to assist the quality of rural healthcare education, either for students. It might be, in fact, helping educate communities. It may be something that is tying those doctors in rural Waikato to an equivalent practice, an equivalent base hospital, perhaps in rural Australia, rural US.
Awesome. Now we've only got 30 seconds left of your time, and I
Yes.
feel a bit like Dr. Phil here because off stage at the moment, but she won't be able to hear us. So you've got 30 seconds. Why did you select our next guest, Kerry? What was special about her? And you've got 30 seconds.
An absolute spark, and I think that's it. We are looking for that spark that tells us that this is someone who, in the future, dedicating themselves, they will dedicate themselves to rural medicine, but they have that spark. They get it. Pat would have sat down and yarned with them for hours. It's a hard litmus test, and it's like an X factor.
That is wonderful. Well, that introduces better than I could, I think, really. Now, what I'd love you to do, if you could slide ever so slightly that way, and then we'll bring Kerry on. And we've now got Kerry Short, and Kerry Short is this wonderful, bright, spark person. And Kerry, I'd lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Please sit yourself down. And you are, as we've just heard, the recipient of the Pat Farry. I don't know whether you heard the wonderful things about you.
No,
but,
I didn't.
Well, there you are. It was all bad. So, Kerry, you've been a recipient of this grant, and I'd love to hear all about you. Now, then, my understanding of it is you did the RMIP programme last year.
I did.
You're a trainee intern this year, and you've been in 3 different countries, I understand.
I
would you like to tell us about them?
Well, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, really.
Yeah.
So I started off in Nepal for 5 weeks,
Yes.
based just outside of Kathmandu in a rural centre at a mission hospital. And then I moved through to Zambia and into a rural hospital there, sort of near the border of Malawi. And then did the Flying Doctors for a few days up in Tanzania.
Is
So,
that right?
yeah, so it's been all over.
And you couldn't have done that without the Pat Farry Trust grant.
Absolutely not.
So that is outstanding. Well done. So what made you pick those countries? I presume you could have gone anywhere in the world you wanted, including Invercargill.
Yeah. So it truly is a blank canvas. You sort of almost want to throw a dart at the map and just pick anywhere. But well, Nepal was something special for me. My parents met there sort of 35 years ago now. Yeah. So I think I always wanted to go there. And the reason I chose sort of third world countries was I was really looking for somewhere resource limited and somewhere that would challenge me, and we wouldn't have access to the things that we have here, and sort of learn to do medicine in a slightly different way. So that's really why I chose to go where I went. And everybody dreams of going to Africa.
You're right.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we've got some slides coming up in a short while, and once they appear, you may be able to talk us through them. In fact, here we are now. So would you like us to talk us through these slides and tell us what's happening? There's a very good-looking person there, I can see.
So my fabulous white coat that we no longer wear in New Zealand, but they do over there. So this is in Nepal. This is Shire Memorial Hospital, which is the wee mission hospital. So that was in Banapart, and that was a hospital of about 300 beds, I think. So we had quite a few different wards and facilities.
I suspect it wouldn't have been as similarly staffed as we would staff a 300-bedded hospital in our country. So,
absolutely not.
Well, how staffed was it?
Well, very limited. So there was mainly foreign doctors sort of working alongside Nepali doctors there, and they're constantly relying on volunteers coming over.
Right.
However, they do have a nursing school, so they're doing quite well in that respect. Yeah.
So perhaps there's another slide. If we see the next slide, there we are. So would you like to talk us through this one there?
So I'm here with a couple of the nurses from the special care baby unit, so you can see our wee premature baby in the background of us there. So I was doing obstetrics and gynecology for a couple of weeks, and really forced to look after premature babies, which I hadn't done before. So.
I've heard that the responsibility of elective students can be well up and above what you would get if you're a fifth-year student in New Zealand. So what responsibilities were you given? Absolutely.
So sometimes I'd be at the delivery by myself, having babies coming out with breathing difficulties, having to do resus myself.
Wow. Whereas in this country we'd have a senior registrar or a consultant doing that.
Absolutely.
Job.
I'd be standing watching in the back corner.
So what training did you get for that?
None.
Excellent.
So that's really where things like the RMIP program sort of came to the forefront. I'd had opportunities in teaching, learning one-on-one, and I was trained to do this kind of thing.
This is wonderful and completely uncued. You see, we're promoting the Pat Farry Trust and the RMIP all in one hit. We're getting value for money out of today. Let's try the next slide if we can. And so there we are.
So that's the beautiful Himalayas in Nepal, so I waited hours for that shot to come in. So there was a couple of days there where that was all fogged out, so this was our last morning and our last chance, and it came around.
Yes.
So.
And how high off the ground are you? Well,
I have no idea.
5 feet, but you don't need oxygen where you are then, obviously.
No, we don't, yeah. It's a beautiful view.
It most certainly is. And then we've got another slide. I don't know how many we've got here.
So this is St Francis Hospital, so this is the one in Zambia.
So we've moved from Nepal to Zambia now.
We have, yeah.
So what were you doing there? So we're Skibu in Nepal and now in Zambia. So what were your responsibilities there?
I went onto a paediatric ward where we could have over 70 children on the ward at any one stage, in which there was 2 doctors, myself and 2 nurses for 70 children. So often I was left running the ward myself, which is a whole new experience. So I'd have whatever emergency kind of turned up, I was there to deal with it.
So they had no training. You must have had some wisdom and knowledge from somewhere. Did you speed read a paediatric textbook? Or?
You try to. Yeah. It's whatever you can grab, really. Obviously, the people that I was working with were very highly trained and sort of gave me quick tutorials on the way through, but basically just relying on what I've been taught in
Look, it's a very fair point, and you brought in an interesting concept, and we were talking about this earlier on, how important nurses are to rural health in this country as well as that, and it's very commensurate with what you've just said, so thank you for that. How are we doing for slides? So here we are.
So this is me out on a rural clinic with the flying doctors up in Tanzania.
Yes.
So this is our examination table. You can see on the little child sitting on, which is just a bed of sticks, really. So we're out in villages that can be up to 150 k's away from the nearest healthcare, and the only access they get is us flying in there. So that was beautiful, really.
Well done. That's lovely. I think we've got one more slide to go. The last slide.
Oh, you can't go to Africa without doing this.
Absolutely right. So. I presume you were seconds away from being eaten there, I presume.
Oh, absolutely. I was scared for my life.
Yes.
No, so these are hand-reared lions. They'll take the cubs and put them back in the wild.
Oh, right.
So they've been rescued, really.
Right, so it's a very large pet cat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But very nice pet cat. Were you a little bit scared? I think most mortals like me would be.
No, the guy taking the photograph was like, I've never seen somebody smile so much at this moment.
Is that right?
No, you've got to live life to the full.
You most certainly do. So, although, look, you obviously had a wonderful time and kind of brilliant. It sounds like a holiday almost, really, in one regard. But you also obviously reprogrammed your brain to in a slightly different way. So the Kerry which came back compared to the Kerry which went out, how would you compare and contrast the two Kerrys?
Oh, completely different, really. Just so much more confident in my own abilities to recognise and formulate diagnoses and sort of evaluate a patient without the need to run quickly off to find an X-ray or a CT scan. I mean, the ability to do that is just amazing. And certainly walking back into a main hospital now, I certainly trust my instincts and my gut feeling.
That's nicely put. I would like to think that Pat would love to think that his trust is going to forge future rural GPs and make recipients of the grant ambassadors for rural cause. So have you wired your brain onto, you would have been rurally wired anyway during the
Yes.
RMIP, so you're being indoctrinated everywhere. But has it changed your rural focus at all?
I think it makes me understand that rural medicine is very exciting. There's so many opportunities. It's not what people think it is, really. And I can't help but think that's exactly where I want to head.
That's absolutely outstanding. Well done. So if you had your time again, would you have gone to those 3 countries or would you have picked different ones?
Well, it's always hard to know, but no, I definitely loved where I went, and I mean, I'm sure to go back there one day, I think.
Excellent. So if I was now a third-year medical student and thinking about my elective, what would you say to me?
Choose somewhere that challenges you. Don't go for the easy. You know, you can do the medicine we do here in New Zealand in a number of different countries, and I think that's the cheat's way out. I think if you really want to learn something, you have to challenge yourself and throw yourself off the deep end.
That's very nicely put. So there I am, third year medical. That sounds wonderful. How would I go about finding what is going to challenge me? Because it's a big world out there. So how would I do my homework to find out where to go?
Well, I suppose it's talking to people like myself. There's over 200 people going on electives every single year. We all have different opportunities. There's elective reports that they can read. There's the electives network through the MAS website that you can access, and that just gives you all the information that you need. But overall, it's about what excites you the most. Where do you think you're going to find that? And just start Googling. Use the internet. It's perfect.
Excellent. Well, that's actually first-class advice. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank
you.
We're
just getting a bit short of time. So what I'm going to ask you both to do, if you could just slide a little bit that way. And talking of entering rural health, we've got someone who entered rural health about 900 years ago, a desperately good friend of mine, Martin London. Martin, come and join the
Hello, Buzz.
Join the settee. Take a seat. It's a long walk you've just made.
It's a long
there,
walk, yeah, that's right.
They are.
Hello.
No, I don't know, you know Simone and Kerry.
Kerry was a student with me last year.
Well, I know, but that was a long time ago, and you're an old man. I don't know if you remember.
Am I aging that fast? I am, actually. Yeah.
Sorry.
We did agree this was going to be the old farts.
Exactly.
Wasn't it? Okay.
Wish we are. I hate to say that. I'm not going to tell you how many years between the two of us we got, but you were in the network when it first started, and that was, we were trying to work it out 22 years ago?
That's 22, yeah. I hoped we'd come of age this year, but in fact it's gone even further.
You missed it, yeah, exactly, that's right. And I joined it 19 years ago, so I think between two of us we were due to be replaced. And we might come back to that, but I think our brief over the next 10 minutes is just what were the highlights of the conference? So for people who've missed it, what would they have got?
Okay, well, we've been through a lot, but even before the official conference started, we had the RANS meeting, okay, so the Rural Health Alliance of Aotearoa New Zealand.
Well done.
Okay, no, I thought it was good. This was something that you might remember we were thinking and talking about 10, 12 years ago. It was a dream to bring all the different organisations with an interest in rural health together, rural health, like Local Government New Zealand and Rural Women, Federated Farmers, all coming together. So this time it's really happened, and big thank you in this regard to the Australians who have helped us. So Leslie Barclay was with us, and they've been incredibly generous with their experience and their material in creating RANS. And having RANS start up in such close association with the rural network really gives me a sense of coming of age. I know we're 22, not 21, but there's a coming of age of the network. And I think this conference has really shown a new maturity and stability of the whole thing. tied in with a brilliant AGM we had last night.
Didn't we ever? We'll come to that, and in fact, I'm not going to let you get away with that one, in fact. And certainly I was chatting to somebody yesterday, and they were over the moon about the Nurses Forum, and we keep saying this, and the nurses are part of RANS and how important nurses are to keeping rural health afloat, really. And they were really chuffed that the Nursing Council came along, and they had a fantastic dialogue with the Nursing Council. That's the first time they've had the forum with the Nursing Council on board, and that was, for them, a really exciting part of the conference. I went to the wound workshop. We've had many workshops, and we had Kathy Hammond here on day one, and she showed us a fantastic video of maggots eating away at a wound, and I thought, well, there we are. We've come of age. This is cutting medicine at its best. Let's throw some maggots in a wound and let it clean it up. Lovely stuff. And the other thing I've always remembered is the rural GP network and the networking. I don't know about you. I've done an awful lot of networking.
It's fantastic. There are people here. It's worth saying that our original conference was in Rotorua, okay, in 1992. So here we are back again.
And I was just thinking, you've been 22 years, I've had 19. If we add them together, divide by 2, we're about to come of age again, aren't we?
Yes, thank you very much.
I just had to help you there.
Yes, your maths is good.
It's scary.
But anyway, there are people here who were there right at the beginning. So an enormous number of old friends, and it is just such. When we originally formed this organisation, right at the top was fellowship support, and these people are family now, so meeting old friends, well, meeting family again, plus more recent friends, brilliant seeing all these younger people coming in and making the connections, and people like Kerry here, who's already giving us hope for the future.
No pressure, Kerry.
No pressure, that's right, just sign the contract.
It's a very good point, Martin. I remember standing on stage this time last year and looking around the audience and thinking, this is my 18th year of being involved in the network, and well over half the audience were there 18 years ago, and I was a bit nervous about that, thinking, well, they're going to move on to greener pastures, which don't exist with the drought at the moment, but after it rains they will. And who's going to replace them? And we've got lots of Kerrys coming through.
It's really happening. It's really happening.
It's awesome.
Yes. And even on the board we're seeing younger people as well. So.
Quite.
So, first impression, great conference and running with wonderful fluidity. I've organised conferences before and we've lurched from one aspect to the next. This conference, it's just flows.
So what's given it that laxative, do you think?
Well, I think the organisers are highly lubricated.
Yes. Well, that's the networking I was talking about. That's right. Yes, quite.
But no, I mean, the organisers have really put on a fantastic show, and it's just flowing, and the sessions are great. We can go into some of the sessions.
Yep.
Right from the beginning, let's talk about that potpourri.
The potpourri.
Whenever we get potpourri, gets me here.
It is beautiful.
There's a real lump in my throat that goes.
My terroir is quite basic, unfortunately, and I think we were talking about it before. How annoyingly for us, there's a beautiful exchange, and then there's laughter, and we look at it. What
was John saying? What was John saying? Was he talking about us?
Probably.
I mean, he was like in the old days talking about the pakeha, and making jokes at our expense. They certainly laughed anyway.
But it's beautiful, isn't it?
It was great. No, it's a wonderful event.
Quite.
So. And that's good, and the support we get from the Kamatua and Kafina, it puts the network in an important place, an important sense of presence, and we're getting the responses to that now through government and DHBs and all the rest of it.
That's right.
That's a really warm thing.
And then talking of language we don't understand, then we had the political session, and
would you like to give me your reflections on the political session?
I would love to. I need to listen to it again. The politicians are marvellous, aren't they? They can speak for hours, and then you can look at each other and think, what did he say? Yes, but it was really good.
I like the graphics.
Yes, and I was inspired, and I'm sure later on we'll find out why. But they were genuinely good.
But anyway, it's good to have them present. Good to have them the chance for interchange. And I'll tell you actually what I've appreciated this time is that Tony Ryle didn't give a talk, but he has been here. And he's been drifting around and engaging with people.
No, all credit to that guy. And to my knowledge, I don't think he's missed a conference out in the last 4 years, to be honest with you. And, that's very impressive, irrespective of where one stands on the political spectrum, to have a minister who is willing to engage in a very brave way. He was walking around unaccompanied, only 2 armed guards behind him.
Very courageous of you, Minister.
Very. Well, especially with there are some very dramatic decisions being made up and down the country at the moment. Mindful of the fact that Wyra Hospital is a high risk of losing an awful lot of services, for example, and there are others. I saw him go straight for the Wyra Hospital doctor and say, let's talk about it. And that was impressive. No cameras on him, nothing. He just wanted to know. And I thought, we've wherever we are on the political spectrum at the moment, we've got he gives a damn.
And politics is part of what we do as a network, and maintaining that profile, increasing that profile. Back to Rands again. So more success for the conference. You realise this is an elaborate way to build up next year's conference so that other people come to it because they miss so much.
That's the whole point. You're 100% right. Talking of which, we had the AGM, and now then I'm very curious. We started with the Monty Python skit.
Oh, really?
We most certainly did.
I missed that.
You missed it. You were on it. It was a fantastic bastardisation from the life of Brian.
Yeah.
And I was just really curious that was there any copyright problems with that? Do you think?
I don't know, but Joe's in the car if there is, because he wrote it.
No, well, that's a fair point. And now I've just brought it up on
the only
broadcast.
Bit
If there wasn't before, there would be now.
Bit is where we got the aqueduct bit. But otherwise, everything was pure original.
I believe
absolutely,
you.
Absolutely.
Yes, quite. Yeah. And you didn't say the word Brian once, actually, which is
no,
very
no, I said the word bastards a few times.
100. But the nice part about it is, and all jokes aside, we have mentioned this many times, an important part of the conference, an important part of what we do is to remind people that our job needs to be fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And just once in a while we do forget that, and it's really important to be reminded, and that reminded of us last night.
Absolutely. And you actually, you've played into my hand here, because do you know what I really like about these conferences is that they sprout ideas. If you think something's sprouting up, and sometimes I feel old and stale. Well, I am old and stale, but never mind. But sometimes a new idea sprouts. And in one of the sessions, it sprouted the idea that if we're going to measure successful rural practice.
Well, no, you say successful rural practice. We're going to run out of time. But the Peter Snow recipients.
Now
you we can't let it slip by without just giving mention to the Peter Snow recipients. I think we might even have some slides of them if we got our
yes.
So do you want to describe the Peter Snow recipient there?
Here we've got Graham Fenton and his lovely wife, sorry, that's Graham and Robin Steed. And these people I've worked closely with for
yes, I knew that.
many years, and I'm just delighted that they've got this award.
I wish we could talk more about them, but I'm thrilled to bits got the award too. We've got just only a few seconds left, but I would love you to just close almost with Henare O'Keefe, because you attended that, and it was we can't finish without you mentioning that.
Every conference has a moment when something changes, and I was saying it was beautifully fluid. Henare O'Keefe was speaking this morning about community action, about humility, humanity, and ultimately the love that we bring to our relationships, working relationships, caring relationships, and all the rest of it. And it was just amazingly moving. I think there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and that was the event it's going to have characterised this this conference, and brings it back to humanity. Basically, we're all, as he says, we're fathers and mothers before we're doctors and nurses and all the rest of it. And that was profound. And kia ora Henare. That's all I can say.
That was lovely. You told me that story before, and I thought you have to do it. Look, it's really unfortunate we're out of time. You and I could gossip for ages, and probably will once the cameras are switched off. But nevertheless, I just want to leave us with a lovely African proverb, and it says this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think, although it's an African proverb, I think we can nick that for our conference too. We'll have that one. Look, thank you very much, Neve, for coming here. Kerry, thank you so much too. Simone, likewise, thank you for your input. Really appreciate of that. And thank you very much, Neve, for tuning in. And tune in this time next year, and we'll show you how good we are. Better still, please attend the conference. God bless. Thank you very much. And thank you.